This is an auto-narrated audiobook generated by Google. One day in the 100-acre wood, Winnie the Pooh was storing honey of great amount at his home. He managed to store 100 jars of honey, and said, "This honey will be good for the whole winter, so I won't have to leave outside in the cold for food." As Winnie the Pooh was about to go to bed, a knock was heard. At the sound of the knock, Winnie the Pooh was very disturbed. He was very sleepy, and he had to see who it was at the door, so he opened the door and there was Piglet, who said, "Can I please stay tonight at your home because there's a terrible storm coming and I don't want to be at home alone." At that Pooh said, "You may stay, but there isn't enough food for you. It is okay, I'll be leaving in the morning," replied Piglet. So Winnie the Pooh prepared the sofa for Piglet his friend while he slept like a bear on his bed. In the middle of the night, Piglet's stomach started making sounds. He was hungry, and he said, "Winnie must have some kind of food around here," and opening the cabinets, which was locked with a combination which Piglet guessed right away and was right. The number was 1, 2, 3, 4, knowing Winnie only knows how to count to 4, and he saw 100 jars full of honey. At that Piglet said, "I don't think he would mind if I just take 1 jar of honey. It's just 1 jar compared to the whole bunch of jars that are here. He might not even notice." As Piglet took one of the many jars, then opening the jar of honey, dipping his index finger suddenly before his finger went to his mouth, Winnie smelled the honey from across the hall. Waking up angry from his sleep, ran towards Piglet and grabbing him from his t-shirt threw him outside the door in the middle of the storm, then slamming the door went back to sleep grumbling, "You let a friend stay the night and they rob you blind." In the snow, Piglet stood shocked that his best friend wasn't just selfish but unforgiving as well. As Winnie the Pooh slept, his conscience started bothering him. "You need to forgive your best friend. You left him outside in the cold snow hungry while you are warm with food." At hearing his conscience, Winnie the Pooh covered his ears and closed his eyes tightly. But images of his friend hungry and cold started appearing in his mind. But again Winnie refused to listen to his conscience, and tried to excuse what he had done with the words, "I take him in, then all my food would be gone." Piglet tried walking home, but the wind and the snow was too much. All he could do is hold to a branch and stay in one place, and pray that God would change Pooh's heart. As the snow started to cover Piglet to his waist, Pooh was still fighting his conscience and hitting his head with one hand while beating his chest with the other to try to knock some sense to his conscience. As he was doing this, he bumped the bookshelf and a book fell open to the ground. It was the Bible. Winnie looked at where it was open to read what it had to say. His eyes fell straight to Matthew chapter 6 verse 14, which read, "For if you forgive men their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you." At reading this, Pooh said, "I want to be forgiven, but I don't want to forgive. And I don't want to give. Maybe I should forgive. He is my friend after all, and maybe I could write on a paper what he eats, then charge him later with taxes and add some inflation." And running to the door, as he opens the door, sees Piglet almost frozen to death, with the snow covering to his neck. At that Pooh carries him to his bed, and places many warm sheets on him. And crying because of his anger and selfishness, he almost lost his friend. Grabbing a jar of honey, started feeding him. And finally seeing Piglet moving but shaking because he was still cold, started praising God. And in the middle of the excitement, forgot to charge him for the honey. So that night Winnie the Pooh slept on the sofa while he gave his bed to his best friend, who he forgave and was no longer greedy towards him ever again.